Right, hello people and welcome to the stream. Going to be just the Viper versus Yinghua tonight, and it's going to be a best of three again between these two. And I say that because we've been here before, haven't we? Viper versus Yinghua, playing in a best of three in a 1v1 tournament on Arabia. And the last time out, it was an perhaps unexpected or slightly less likely result. I'm referring to WSVG Maldives, of course, where Yinghua actually went 1-0 up, and that made him so nervous he then struggled to put in his best performance in the following games. But he'll be riding high on a wave of Clan Masters euphoria during these games, which were played a few days after SY took the tournament. I think it was the following Thursday. Interesting to observe that Viper set his scouts straight forward here, and he's going to go through the ball aim straight away. And I'm just looking at his path there, because for a moment it appeared that he was actually going to head here and go and look for the second ball to try and get a double ball steal, even though he knows not where it is and he's already got one ball chasing him. But that would have been probably the craziest thing anyone has ever done in the history of AOC, and he's going to think better of it, head home straight away. We can see that the ball steal was in his plans from the get-go, because he picked Mongols here on Arabia in a situation where you can't pick either Aztecs, Huns or Mayans. I'd have expected to see either Britons or Celts from him. Normally Viper, well, I wouldn't say normally, but Viper is known to really enjoy Britons, and it's been a very viable civilization choice for some players in these game ones in the DauT Cup. Celts have been very popular as well, and Viper picked Celts against Fang Zhaoqi when he actually played the games over in China. Well, I say over in China, he was still in China when this game was played, but it wasn't at the Clan Masters Grand Final on the stage. But yeah, Viper picking Celts in the game against Fang Zhaoqi, but bringing out something different here with the Mongols, and I don't know, I think it leaves him up against it. I'm not a massive fan of Mongols in 1v1 Arabia when you've got the choice to pick other civs. They actually were fared rather poorly in the Arabia 1v1 Invitational, if my memory serves me correctly, and I don't know why this figure has stuck in my head. I think they finished up with a 39% win ratio in that tournament whilst being one of the most picked civs, which tells you a lot. They were picked by a lot of players who thought they were great and turned out not to be all that good. Meanwhile, Celts, I think, won close to 70% of their games. So Yinghua potentially with a civ advantage here. He should be feeling a little bit more comfortable playing against the Viper here, given that, well, I'm comparing that to when he played in the Maldives, when his hands were shaking and he struggled to put in his best performance after taking the game one. The reason I say he should be feeling more comfortable is he's probably gone home by this point and he's sitting in his own house in China with his own equipment and not being far from home in the Maldives. Whereas the Viper, as some of you may know, did fall ill while he was over in China, and it's my understanding that he's either only just recently left China or hasn't done so yet, as we commentate on this game on Tuesday, a week and a half after the Clan Masters Grand Final. So given that I think most players went home sort of last Thursday or Friday, is that correct? They stayed there for a while longer, and so he actually played these games, I believe, at Paladin's house, obviously using his PC and equipment and everything. So Viper working through potentially some disadvantages here of being in well, first of all, in potentially not in 100% the right mentality to play the games, just on account of having spent a couple of days in hospital, but also being a little bit more like a fish out of water, considering he's the one who's not got the home advantage like Yinghua has. Anyway, enough of the sort of meta game, if you will, around the actual players themselves. Let's focus in on the action, since we're just about getting to the timing when we would typically see a barracks being built, if a drush is going to happen, and Yinghua is throwing up a barracks now, so we can expect to see him building militia shortly. Let's see if he took 10 gold, which he's doing right now with that villager, and that is a heck of a main gold, isn't it? Heck of a back main gold. Yinghua's Drush, though, may be forced to play pretty defensively given that Viper is up already. Having stolen the boar, he's had 3 boars as Mongols, and that's enabled him to go up with just 20 population here. Almost certainly aiming at a scout rush. And it's probably going to force Yinghua's militia to stay a bit defensive, potentially, unless he gets them into Viper's base before that stable and a couple of scouts are built. But it seems like he will do that, being a little bit hesitant to move out. Looking to wall up the southern and left side of his base, and that will actually take in 2 gold spots into the area. The difficulty for him here is the wood. This wood is quite decent to actually chop for the foreseeable future, but it's very, very vulnerable. Not only will archers be able to get on this oasis and fire over, but he's about to over chop as well. And the other wood that he can feasibly take is way up here, apart from a few small stands of trees at the back. Drush is about to hit Viper's woodline, but he's already palisaded well in advance. Not much HP on these, so he needs to repair quickly. Just noticing that Viper only now bringing in the 3rd boar. So just use 2 to get that uptime, of course. Still absolutely feasible by Mongols. And it seems he forgot his barracks here, because he's now having to power build a barracks with 5 villagers, and it's a bit of a waste of the fast uptime when you forget to do that, because obviously it's delaying your first scout by about 30 seconds, and at that point you might as well have gone up 1 higher villager in terms of the attack timing that you're going to have. Yinghua proving to be pretty frustrated with the Drush, not really finding much to hit. About the best he could hope to do at this point would be to find the stable building villagers, but they're going to be way over here, of course. And it looks like Yinghua may just content himself with guarding Viper's gold and stopping Viper from going out to gold at any point. And I guess it's a good idea if he was to do that, because it would be potentially denying bloodlines coming in very early. But he may find his way into Viper's woodline here. Oh no, it's going to be palisade. I was going to say that would be a really nice spot for Yinghua to actually put his militia, because he'd get a little hill bonus against those villagers that would be just slightly downhill from the militia. But Viper's spotted the overchop, and he's actually not gone for a scout. He's gone for archery range straight away, which is interesting considering he's not on gold at all. I guess he's decided against the scouts, just probably seeing the walls coming out from Yinghua. So let's take a look at his point of view. He's actually seeing the full wall off pretty much. He can assume that it's completely closed off by this point. So Viper, with delaying the barracks and not being able to scout rush that fast and then running into walls, he's changed strategy, gone for archery range, but only afforded him 1 archer for now, and he's not even producing skirmishers, so he's cut production. 4 villagers going out to gold. He's actually floating 600 of food. He may just forgo feudal aggression at this point. I'll have to see, but he could almost get to 200 gold in the next sort of minute and a bit, and then probably achieve a similar castle age time to the one that Yinghua was probably aiming for, with a likely Drush FC from behind walls. Being an archer range and a blacksmith, as opposed to the 2 archery ranges we saw from him playing Celts yesterday. Also possibly down 1 boar, I can't remember. But yeah, that's indicating the FC rather than going aggressive in the feudal age. Viper doing the blacksmith as well, still doesn't look to have produced anything other than... yeah, he's adding 1 other archer. But with the resources starting to look very much like approaching castle age, the numbers required to click up to the castle age, that is, seems both players will be just leapfrogging to the castle age. Yinghua building his 2nd archer range, but I don't expect we'll see him massing archers until... well, actually, I say that. He's got about 300 gold in the bank, so with those villagers on gold, he can continue to produce archers for a little bit while staying at the 200 mark. And actually, he's lacking the food to click up anytime soon. I was thinking he was a little bit higher in food count when I was suggesting he might go for more of an FC approach. He didn't see that many extra farms to aim at that, considering the fact that he did have that boar stolen. It's left him sort of down on food to click up, and with fletching kicking in, he's kind of committing now to hanging around in the feudal age for a couple of minutes longer. Potentially quite a dangerous situation if Viper does get up to the castle age 2 or 3 minutes faster than him, because Yinghua, apart from the very safe gold mine, looking pretty vulnerable to crossbows with Bodkin in particular, just because if they get on this hill here, they can deny all of the wood line very, very easily whilst doing extra damage and killing villagers very quickly. The Viper's leaving his base now with his archers at around 50% castle age. Going to let them cross the map and hide them somewhere near Yinghua's base most likely, and then get ready to click the crossbow upgrade. Although that said, he's encountering Yinghua's archers in the middle of the map on the hill outside Yinghua's base, and may be inclined to just keep those archers out of the way. Make sure that the two groups don't bump into each other, because any losses Viper takes now are quite unnecessary, considering he's about to be able to click the upgrades for those units. It looks like he'll try to just assume a defensive posture for the next minute and avoid taking any casualties if he can. Still on Yinghua's point of view, and the food count is really not looking good, is it? He's going to do a market and try to help buy his way up by the looks of it. Two groups of archers clashing now. Viper is 80% of the way to crossbow, and his scouts catching those archers as well. Two more on the hill behind, and Yinghua probably going to get mopped up here, or at least run away with his tail between his legs and not much HP left on those archers. And he's sensing the danger already. I talked a moment ago about how difficult it would make Yinghua's life if crossbows were to appear on this hill here. So this tower is forward thinking. He's realising he can't stand up to these crossbows coming across the map, and he's already trying to ward off the crossbows from just parking in his wood line, and making it very difficult for him to do anything in the game, considering he'd have to come over here probably, or else try and sneak up here, but that would be very dangerous. The Viper's partially walling off the front sort of and north of his base. No second TC with his castle age just yet. So at least Yinghua isn't falling behind particularly in villager production, whilst Viper remains on 1 TC. And probably by the time Yinghua hits the castle age in about 1 minute's time, the difference between the two players will be a villager at most, in either direction. Kid. So Viper bringing forward an additional 5 crossbows. He's going right to that spot where he can do a lot of damage to Yinghua's woodline. Even with the tower there, it's going to be hard to avoid taking 1 or 2 casualties. Quite helpful to get rid of 1 crossbow. I'm not sure how many will be required here to one-shot a villager from uphill, but I can't imagine if it's more than 5, it's many more than 5. So taking it down to 4 is quite helpful, because it gives you that moment to react to pull a villager back into the tower. With bodkin and crossbow for Yinghua, but we're going to see where his military is unless he's got it all garrisoned in archery ranges for now. 13 crossbowmen, I presume. Yeah, no scout or militia left alive. So with 13 expos, he can definitely stand up to what Viper has around his base. Especially if he manages to take favourable engagements like this, where all 13 or 14, still 13, pop out and surprise the smaller group that Viper has around there. Looks like these guys, though, are back to head through the wall. Destroying that pretty quickly with the hill bonus, and it's going to cause problems for Yinghua. I mean, this house wall is quite useful, but they're still going to be able to hit several villagers there, catch a couple of farmers out. Micro battle in the middle of the map. Yinghua coming off much the better there. Hill bonus helping him get the kills, of course, but it seems he didn't really land any shots on Yinghua either, particularly. Very little HP gone from any of those crossbows. And Yinghua will now bump into Viper's siege workshop. Let's see if anything's been produced. Yeah, the mangonel's popping out straight away. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit too close to some of those crossbows to actually fire the shot. This is going to be hard for Yinghua to micro against 10 crossbows and the mangonel from point blank range. He needs to run away. That's exactly what he's doing. So Viper now going to add that second TC after opting for the initial siege workshop. Floating a lot of gold, and he's building that TC on the gold. Obviously great to keep it safe, but I think it would have been also nice if he built one on the wood line. But I guess he views keeping that main gold safe the priority, given that it's in the southern part of his base and he's got a wall off towards the north. Meanwhile, in Yinghua's base, those gold miners are going to come under attack. Two villagers should go down quickly. Maybe some more. Yinghua doesn't seem to be reacting. What's he looking at? He's focusing on this, and well, he might. Well, I was going to say well he might, because I thought he'd get the shot with that mangonel. But Viper almost completely evading damage. All of the damage that had been done there was by the expos, but manages to clean that up with that mangonel, and he should be able to defend now with that siege workshop that's on the hill. The issue is he's now lost half a dozen villagers on that gold mine whilst he's been tending to the front of his base, and that is opening up a sizable villager difference between the two players. 8 villagers, and with Viper on a second TC, set to race away in the next few minutes until Yinghua gets a second TC of his own. Yinghua going super heavy on the mangonels. So I wonder if we're going to see him remaining on 1 TC for quite some time here and just trying to be really aggressive. He's going for university as well, so it looks like it's going to be a lot of mangonels, ballistics, and just give it a go. He's got the kind of map where he's already struggling to take wood into the castle age. Unless he was to put a TC right up there, he couldn't actually TC that wood on the right hand side. I guess he could put one there to take some, but yeah, I think he's already sensing that he's behind. He's looking at his map. Great shot by Viper there. Attack ground, killing at least 4 crossbows. Yeah, Yinghua's already behind, and he's got that kind of map where it probably suits him to play more aggressively, stay on 1 TC for longer. Does need to do damage to Viper though in the next couple of minutes to make that worthwhile. Viper fires down a mangonel shot off the hillside, and he gets 2 for 1. Yinghua got caught there. He had these 2 mangonels way too close together. And downhill from the siege workshop, it might have made sense to approach more from this direction and get those units onto the hillside, get the mangonels up on the hill and spread them out so that they're not right next to the siege workshop, or basically right next to each other within range of the siege workshop, because that has more or less defeated his push now. He's 17 villagers behind. He's down by 13 army. The population is approaching double for Viper, and he's on extra TCs. Pretty difficult situation for Yinghua to be in now. Force Collar kicking in for Viper, a bit late, but it's probably not going to matter too much in this game and in this situation, with the game having progressed to where Viper does have a pretty big lead. But it's never something you like to see missed. 2 places to concentrate on now. Seems we've got Dodgeball War in the north, which Viper, it does 1 HP damage. Good splits there, and a mangonel shot finishes that one off. Meanwhile on the front, Viper's pushing as well, and Ram comes to deal with the siege workshop. Another mangonel on the hillside, and Viper's own crossbows took the hill with a knight in here to discourage any further mangonels popping out of the siege workshop, and it's GG already. Very good performance by Viper, and Yinghua just seemed to struggle ever since that boar steal. just seemed kind of delayed. The way he was walling up, I thought he was going to be approaching a faster castle time, but he didn't have the food, and that convinced him to lay down the second rage after the blacksmith start producing archers, get Fletch and get a wheelbarrow hang around the castle age. But Viper was always able to just put pressure on him because Yinghua really had no answer to crossbows appearing around the edge of his base. And after Yinghua had invested in those resources, in those archers and fletching, etc., to go across the map with and attack Viper, he ran into Viper's archers somewhere around here, and I think Yinghua ended up here, didn't he? And Viper had 2 archers on the hill and about the similar number of archers that Yinghua had here, and just took the fight really convincingly. And it was always Yinghua on the back foot from there. So quick game, and Viper takes it 1-0. I hope for a more competitive game in game 2, and if we see a game 3, because that was a very decisive victory. So these are recorded games, and we can quickly load it all up for the second game. Seems Viper does pretty well when he's playing on Paladin's PC. It's called the DauT Cup because, well, I'll take a step back. It was originally named Clan Masters 1v1 Mini Cup, and it was taking place on the Sunday after the grand final of the team game tournament, the Clan Masters. It was then sponsored for $1,500 by a Chinese clan called ZP, and they're all fans of DauT, so they renamed the cup after him. And DauT did pretty well and had some pretty entertaining games in the cup, so they'll feel like they got their money's worth there. But anyway, refocusing on this game, we've got Nomad. Yinghua perhaps feeling a little bit outmatched after that previous game, and hoping that he can have a little bit of luck factor from Nomad to help him out. It's going to be a Persian's War. Once again, Viper playing in yellow and Yinghua playing in blue. And they've chosen to TC very close to each other, but just looking at this, it seems Viper has got the better of the TC locations. His land-based food is fantastic here. Looking at 3 boars and about 10 deer in the vicinity of his TC. For Yinghua, 2 boars that he should be able to get as well. He might even steal this one from under Viper's nose. He's got some food sheep, so both of them will be okay. But you do favour Viper's food resources here. He's also got a lot of gold close by, and plenty of stone and gold in the back. Likewise for Yinghua, really. A little bit more barren immediately behind his TC, but if he scouts this over to the western corner, then he's got lots of resources to fall back on. It's pretty much a halfway line type situation here, where both players sort of towards the middle in the centre circle of a football pitch, if you like, and then behind them they've got all of these resources backing them up. Yinghua has chosen to do his dock in the western corner, and it's going to be pretty good. He's got 3 deep fish within quite close proximity to his dock. Viper, meanwhile, docking the south, which is actually the part of the land where it cuts away from the map edge a bit and there's a large sea to fish in. So Viper with a great dock position as well. Seems like he does have some advantages here, but Yinghua not with any significant penalties as such. So I expect him to really get into this game, unlike the last one where it seemed to be decided pretty quickly, and some big fights, well not big fights, but fights that went very much in Viper's favour in the castle age there really drew the line under what was beginning to look like a victory anyway for Viper. Could be that Viper is about to lose a villager here. He's scouted a lot of the area that Yinghua is in without actually discovering the TC itself or Yinghua's presence. Luckily for him, he's avoided blundering right into the TC. It's just in this gap here. And he kind of sees 2 boars, which he's going to take one off. And right now, unless he's seen a villager from Yinghua, his thinking is simply that this boar is far away from me. I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to get these ones, so let's take the far ones first. And that's really important because we were looking at the difference in the food that Viper and Yinghua had, and we were thinking, well, Yinghua's still got two boars, going to be fine. And he's actually got quite a lot of sheep now, so he'll still be fine. But it really does represent a lot of free food that is gathered extremely quickly that Viper will be able to take advantage of now, and considerably less for Yinghua. Yinghua not very impressed by that steal, saying no in the chat. And what it does do is it basically alerts Viper to the fact that Yinghua was in this area. Seems Viper was going to go and try and steal the second boar pretty quickly on that basis, but obviously he now knows that it's gone. It looked like he sent a villager straight away to get the second boar as soon as Yinghua clued him into the fact that he was close enough to this area to actually want to take that boar himself. So Viper's got an idea about how this is going to play out. How does Yinghua's scouting looking? And the answer is his overall map scouting is pretty fantastic. He hasn't quite located Viper yet in terms of triangulating his actual precise location, but he knows that Viper's taken this boar somewhere up there, so he's aware, and he's just found the TC and lost his sheep. As soon as you lose your TC, you lose your sheep like that, Nomad, you know you've either walked into the enemy TC or a villager or something. So you can be pretty sure. And he's actually found another boar off towards the northwest, which is quite useful for him. Just looking at the chat. I Puma King giving out the spoilers. Bannable offence in these parts. I think I will actually now look to just speed the game up a little bit through to the point where players start to age up to the feudal age. This is a recorded game, so we do have that luxury. But for now, we're watching players basically just amass the food to get up to the feudal age. Both of them continuing to add fishing ships. Both of them are up to 5 now. Seems Yinghua a villager ahead. Does he have loom though? Yes he does. And Viper having loom as well. And perhaps he did get a slightly better start then. Even though Viper's got a lot more food to take, he will still be taking boars and deer into the castle age. He didn't manage to get that in the bank quite early enough to get up to the feudal age ahead of Yinghua, and it's going to be around a 1 villager difference between two of them in terms of villager time, but Yinghua also being 1 villager ahead, so I'd say he's negotiated the start slightly better at this point. Let's see what he's going to actually do with his feudal age. He's mining gold, starting to wall up towards the southeastern part of his base. We didn't see him add a barracks whilst he was on his way at all. Viper did choose to do that, and given that he seems to want to, there's now some aggression breaking out, we'll slow the game back down to normal speed and we can watch it like that. Looks like we'll probably be in for a bit of feudal warfare here. Yinghua throwing up a tower on that wood line, and he's going to basically take away the entirety of Viper's wood gathering in this area and force Viper to run somewhere towards the back of his base. Unfortunately, Yinghua at the moment doesn't have much to actually, or anything to continue applying pressure to some of those villagers as they run away to other areas. It looks like the tower is, given that it's missing fletching, it may not reach all of the villagers, and it was only reaching the ones in this row of trees. Given that it's chosen to target the lumber camp now, yeah, it can shoot her. So basically, I think the tower can only reach to here. So those villagers need to start chopping through another row of trees before it truly proves its worth. And Viper locating Yinghua's dock on the water. the scouting at this point is pretty damn good. He's got 70% of the map uncovered, if not more. And you can say the same about Yinghua, really. Both actually know where each other's docks are. It's worth noting that Yinghua hasn't manually tasked these fishing chips onto that DauT fish. It's going to slow him down just a little bit through to the Castle Age upgrade. But really, Castle Age is looking a while off for both players, since neither of them with very much food, and they're actually having to commit to some feudal warfare. Viper with the archers and the archery range, Yinghua heavily on stone to continue to build more towers, and he's having to build one defensively here, trying to interrupt that with his archers, but only 2 archers being there and lacking fletching, they're not going to be able to do too much to the villagers, and there's zero chance that this tower gets prevented. Four archers is starting to look a little bit more threatening. See that? Those villagers going down to like 20 HP pretty quickly. Yinghua really needs another tower sort of here to make a bit of a triangle of death. Triangle of towers to defend the stone mine, because otherwise he's not going to be able to continue the tower based aggression and defense that he's been aiming to. He's actually been heavily on stone though for quite a while, so he's floating a bank 235. It's not quite enough to drop 2 towers at this point, but these guys still carrying some. He might drop that off and be satisfied with being able to make another 2 towers or something, but nope. Going straight out to do another tower with his stone that he has in the bank, and it's a bit of an odd place. I don't know if Viper's got this guy in stand ground or no attack. Maybe without fletching he's still just out of range there. But yeah, that tower is quite far back. With the range that they have, it should still be able to protect the stone to a degree, but once those archers get fletching, they can probably hit those from this sort of position without being under too much fire from the towers. Hearing a few galleys coming out now. Viper with another dock in the eastern corner where there's lots more fishing. Yinghua sending his fish all the way around the map. This is interesting. He's actually going to pass by Viper's second dock now and straight into one of the galleys, which presumably will give chase and pick off one of those fishing ships very, very quickly. And Yinghua's really not going to find safe harbour here with where he was actually sending those fishing ships to. Second dock position was possibly a little bit ill-advised, considering he's not got many galleys on the water to actually deal with this. He's not got much military at all, to be honest. Just 2 at the moment. I'm looking at the villager difference between the 2 players. It's actually 6 in favour of Yinghua, but I'm wondering whether it's any of the fishing ships counting towards that. It's not, is it? We've got 35 bills, 5 fish, 3 military. I'm not quite sure how Yinghua has ended up 6 villagers ahead. Viper must have had some idle TC for some time, unless one of them did wheelbarrow, but that doesn't really seem like a logical investment when neither of them has a single farm at this point, and most villagers are working next to camps. So Yinghua having to do his best to avoid Viper breaking through the back here. Still there's not actually been that much damage done to that walls, and he'll get a tower up in time. Use the blacksmith just to make sure that Viper doesn't run through before he manages to get the tower up. Yinghua's still running fishing ships on the water, but Viper hunting them down with no remorse here. But it looks like it's going to be a fish trade, since Yinghua is picking up all of Viper's, and Viper doesn't have any left on the map at this point. Whereas Yinghua still has a couple that are for now hiding in the corner, and 2 others over here actually still getting deep fish, so advantage Yinghua in that sense. And he's the first to do a couple of farms as well, but I guess The reason why we're not seeing any farms from Viper just yet is he's still taking so much deer. I said he'd be taking it well into the feudal age, or possibly even the castle age if he'd done a sort of more of an FC. And he's still got a lot more to take. Meanwhile, Yinghua, with a lot of towers on the map at this point, shows you just how much villager time he's invested in spending on stone. Invested in mining stone and spending it, I mean. And this is a good tower from Viper taking away that gold mine. Quite useful timing actually, because Yinghua has been adding a lot of archers from 2 archery ranges that Viper doesn't even see at this point. So he probably doesn't quite realise just how useful it is to him to take Yinghua off gold at this point. A lot of archers are already produced, of course, but it could be many more if Yinghua are able to take gold freely. And also denying gold gives him a bit of a boost in winning the water, but for now, it seems like Yinghua is having the better time of things out on the high seas. Seems to be getting like 3 galleys versus 1 all the time, and then therefore sinking them without doing too much damage. These guys from Viper are suicidal. Multiple overlapping towers and straying close to the TC as well. And another tower going up for Yinghua to get these guys cleared out from the back of the wood line. He's made a lot of towers now. 6 already. And only one of them you could say is really doing any work offensively. But I think Viper is now going to get taken a little by surprise by just how many archer range units Yinghua actually has. There's a great little mound there to take the hill bonus, and Viper has that for now, but he has so many, so many fewer archers that he's immediately calling the GG. Obviously he couldn't take the fight. I thought he was going to be in with a shot here just to try and get that tower up and see if that would help him to hold on to the situation, but obviously all of these archery units could just go and stand at the base of the single tower. He doesn't have the stone to do a second one, and the upshot of it will probably be every villager in the vicinity either going down or having to run a long way and getting picked off. Potentially the 5 villagers in the tower being shot up by the archers and probably being killed as they escaped the building once it became too low HP for them to hide in there anymore. So really it was kind of a surprise attack by Yinghua that swung the game. We can't see the fog of war at this point, but we did show that Viper couldn't see the 2 ranges from Yinghua where he'd actually built a sizable force, and although Viper did get a tower up on that gold, it wasn't early enough to delay the massing of this army, which has decided the game. And the thing is, like, if Yinghua had stopped running and just shot now, he'd have probably taken down 2 or 3 villages in 5 seconds. It would have been a very, very quick sort of depopulation of Viper's villages. It's just feel like a little bit of a shame for him, considering he had so many resources when the game ended. It's slightly sloppy to be floating 700 gold in the feudal age and not really be making very many archers, not having much on the field. It looks like he stayed on the 1 range the whole time, and it really caught him by surprise, considering Yinghua went up to those 2 ranges and really focused on massing units and getting his resources on the map. With neither player being close to the castle age, we can see that Yinghua, given that he has hardly any resources apart from a little bank of wood, has done a better job of getting the resources he's collected onto the map. And obviously he had a little bit of a villager lead throughout, which was perhaps mitigated by the fact that he was mining stone so heavily and putting towers everywhere. But yeah, 1-1, which means we'll see a deciding game 3 between these 2 players and Viper's home map. I'm going to take a little bit of a break for a minute or 2. I will play a commercial during that time, and then we'll return for game 3. Alright, here we go, loading into game 3 now, and what's Viper's home map going to be? Rooster. I've said it multiple times now with these tournament games, DauT Cup games from from a couple of weekends ago that I've been casting on and off, trying to work through all the ones that didn't get casted. Every single time when it's a kind of an international player, a tyrant player, matched up against a Chinese player, and they're picking our home map, it's been Baltic, I think, every single occasion of the ones I've casted, apart from this instance of Rooster, and it basically boils down to the tyrant players and the international players favouring themselves in a 1v1 Grush scenario against their Chinese opponents. Typically it's gonna hinge the most on speed and execution and micro, and that potentially plays into the skill set of the Viper just a tiny little bit more than Yinghua here, who I think is famous for playing with not that many actual hotkeys, which is pretty crazy considering how outrageously good he is. Yeah, I think there's a story from the guys who went over to the Maldives, how they were watching him play and thinking like, this guy has no hotkeys, what the hell, how's he beating us? But I think the key feature of Yinghua's play that's made him such a top player for so many years is just decision making. Really top draw from him, pretty much always. But Rooster is going to be a test here, and it's one that he will be hard pressed to come out on top of, I have to say. We do see a Viking war here. Pretty much no other civ that might be considered here. I guess you could make a slight case for Mongols just for uptime, but ultimately you're going to lose out. The Viking starts to get pumping from multiple docks. And to be honest, with this map being so almost designed to allow any civ to get a really nice uptime for grushing, then the Mongols' potential advantage may not be quite that important, or quite as big as it sometimes is if you get a really aggressive front dock and a fast uptime with Mongols on, say, islands, when the other player is maybe going to be thinking about going up on one villager higher because it's islands and not Rooster, for example. Yeah, we will see players just pushing gear, working through the Dark Age. There's no thought to go and scout the other side of the map, because making sure you push all your gear in is, or at least say 2 or 3 of them, is really important here. You want to spend as much time as possible gathering from hunting here. I will just speed the recorded game up because we're basically going to see the same things. We'll go to 75 speed. Dock positions pretty much directly opposite each other. Viper going sort of out for a corner, which I kind of like. It gives him deep water, slightly more all around the dock, which is potentially more deep fish in the long run that are a little bit closer to that initial dock. But it's very, very small difference. Just reading T90's comment then. I remember Viper saying he was so upset when he saw Tim's stream and he was clicking to build a house. I lost to that. Yeah, I think I remember him saying something like that actually. But yeah, it does just show that even at the very, very highest level where the players are so fast, that strategy and decision making is still a major factor, and you don't need to have the highest APM, the craziest micro to win games. So both players on the way to the feudal age now, 8 seconds difference, but Viper 2 more villagers. So I'm gonna guess that Yinghua was probably idling his TC for a bit to actually get up there, and the knock-on effect is gonna be that he's gonna have 2 less villagers chopping wood and mining gold to produce galleys with. And once you start to try and maintain 3 dock production with those 2 less villagers, it could be quite difficult relative to the time that Viper's going to have with 2 extra villagers working. Every villager now mining gold and chopping wood for both players. No villagers have stayed underneath the TC just getting a sheep or something. 4 fishing ships on deep fish really close to the dock, enough to keep the TCs running for now, whilst players focus everything on galley production. Going to slow the game down to 50 speed as the micro wars are about to kick off. And Viper was probably pick or at least deny the villager, which is trying to build Yinghua's 4th dock. Meanwhile, Viper building his own dock, 4th dock, undisturbed, and that's going to give him a little advantage in production for like the next 15 seconds. Not a big deal, but it does help. However, looking at this, Viper already with 2 more galleys compared to Yinghua, and perhaps this is a knock-on of the fact that Yinghua was down a couple of villagers relative to Viper whilst the players were going up to the fuselage. And Viper already managing to snipe one of Yinghua's fish. 2 actually have gone down at this point. He's only on 2 fishing ships, and it's really important because every fishing ship that you manage to keep alive and working through the fuselage is going to add up to faster castlage time, which can be everything on this map. Because once you've won the water control, it's damn near impossible to lose the game. So with castlage timing being so key to water maps, where players are building neighbours in close proximity like this, killing a fishing ship is really a big deal, and Viper's killed 2 of them here, as well as maintaining its 4 villagers more than Yinghua. It seems Yinghua really struggling to hang in with the villager production whilst also doing the heavy micro of the galleys and keeping the production going there. Obviously 2 fishing ships being sniped, and one of them pretty early, since I did miss the thing actually going down, has probably left him struggling to have the 50 food to click a villager at the right time, and with some considerable amount of idle, and he's already jumped on sheep with 5 villagers to try and keep those that villager production going, and to get fletching of course at a decent time. Viper already managing to click fletching. He's only got 3 villagers on the sheep under the TC, so able to keep most of his villagers working on wood and gold, contributing to him winning the naval battle, and at the same time he's got more fishing ships alive, helping him to get fletching earlier, and it's already looking very precarious for Yinghua, losing another fishing ship. Down 5-3 on the kill to death ratio, 2 military behind, 3 now, and Viper could be set to take a couple more kills here if he closes in on Yinghua's navy. Fletching finally being done for Yinghua. Seems like he's taking a lot of arrows on his fleet there. No kills, but seemingly quite a lot of damage. And we can see, yeah, there's a lot of red bars in there. Viper getting a little caught out, leaving a couple of galleys on the end of a vertical line facing his enemy there. Hasn't quite got his galleys grouped up how he'd like them to be able to take on Yinghua in the open water and potentially start one-shotting galleys, because we're starting to get to that critical mass now where one-shotting becomes possible. And some good micro in that situation can really start to open up the difference between the players. Viper picking up a kill there, 7-4. Still only about a 2 difference between the 2 players, but as a couple more come out from Viper's docks, it's starting to open up. 5 galley difference. And with Yinghua continuing to suffer losses, he might just be getting down below that critical mass where he can actually one-shot some of Viper's galleys. I'm not entirely sure how many galleys with fletching it takes to one-shot a feudal galley, but he's not really making all the arrows connect anyway to be doing that just now. And just looking at the villager population whilst we keep the camera focused on the galleys, Viper's actually 10 villagers ahead now. well, 9 to 10, and I'd imagine by now he's got more villagers onto berries. Maybe sent them out to gather up a couple of extra deer that if he might not have taken during the Dark Age, and could have a farm or two as well. Yeah, 4 farms in fact, and yeah, didn't take the deer, but he's heavily on berries. He's stonewalling the side. He's already possibly feeling like he's winning the water. Score difference is absolutely massive between the 2 players, so taking some precautions on land, thinking that Yinghua may already be trying to do some kind of sneak around the side and just making use of what he has on the water right now and cutting production a little bit. But that's not the case. Well, I say it's not the case. I miss these blue dots circling around. 5 villagers are going to walk around the side, which is really bringing down the economy of Yinghua. He's only got 25 villagers working now to be getting resources in the bank for Castle Age, to keep that galley production going, and to fund the buildings that these guys want to build. Meanwhile, Viper, with 40 villagers working, he's still got 5 fishing ships running. He's actually added an extra fishing ship, making use of his water superiority. So the difference between the 2 players now is absolutely massive. Yinghua is sending these villagers forward, and I suspect he may choose to throw in the towel when he sees these stone walls come up. If he's clicked inside here with the right click already, then he may start to be aware of the fact that it is walled up, but he hasn't seen it just yet. Kill to death ratio with the micro wall between the galleys out on the walls is looking pretty brutal now. 19 to 8. And Yinghua hitting those stone walls. They're nicely prepared by Viper. He had those up well in advance of Yinghua actually being able to get here. And Viper's actually going scale binding on it, so is he preparing to ferry a transport of knights over in the Castle Age? That could be amongst his plans here. Gonna do a stable back at home, so it will require transport to get them across, unless he's just going to delete some of these walls, but it doesn't seem particularly wise to me. It would be opening himself up to the one way that he could probably lose this game, if he was to let Yinghua actually get a military force inside his walls on the land. Because on the water he's clearly enjoying complete dominance, and it makes more sense just to transport across. And Yinghua choosing to resign from the game's aim straight away with Viper hitting the Castle Age. He's 250 food, a lot of gold in the banks. If he'd done a market already, he could have reorganised, but yeah, he's just so far away from hitting the Castle Age. He's going to be potentially facing wall galleys with Bobkin on the water, and potentially having to suffer some raiding from Castle Age land units being ferried across as well. So really no way back, considering just how far away he was from the Castle Age and how far behind he was in economy, military and map control. So Viper takes this series 2-1. That means he'll go through to the final of this tournament, which is yet to be played. I don't know if he's going to play it while he's still in China, if he's indeed still there, or if he'll play it when he gets back home. So just keep your ears to the ground, so to speak, in the usual places to find out when the final of this tournament is going to be happening. I won't spoil who his opponent is, because you may wish to go and watch those games on YouTube, the other semi-final. I'd recommend it. There's some pretty funny games in there. And yeah, just check AOC Zone for the scheduling and such. I'm going to end the stream now. It's going to be quite a short and sweet one, because these weren't long games. But before I do that, we'll just take a final look at the achievements for Viper versus Yinghua there, and update the score for anyone who's tuning in, just to ask if it was over or not. Yeah, 23 to 13 pretty much tells you the story of how the micro battle went on the water. 1,300 extra food for Vipers really is showing how much those fishing ships help you. Because not only is it the food income from the fishing ships, it translated into more villagers earlier, which were then obviously just building momentum as he continued to increase his economic lead over Yinghua. more resources of everything actually, apart from a token 18 stone that Yinghua started to gather, started to jump on when he realised he may have to defend, but the Castle Age timing made him not bother in the end. 47 to 37 villager high. Absolute dominance by Viper on his home map there, so a good choice. And yeah, I'm just going to switch on some hosting of another streamer, and yeah, I just want to make remind you probably, because I guess most of you know about it. Fire and DauT will play a best of 11 this Friday, and continuing across the weekend on Saturday and Sunday as necessary. It will start at 12 GMT this Friday, and we're going to cast it here. Niltford will cast it, and also you can watch Fire's point of view on his own stream if you prefer to watch the actual players' gameplay from their point of view. But yeah, that's my advertising done. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.